Everybody gets so quiet.
We're not waiting on you guys into the bathroom, so take your time. Everybody knows you.
Okay, I'm an engineer. Anybody know how you can tell you're talking to an extroverted engineer? When he talks to you, he stares at your feet.
I like it.
Why you have your confidence to hit it appropriate? One way for free. Not just need my own professional motorcycle rider, but
Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Town of Windermere 2025 Town Council Candidate Forum facilitated by the West Orange Chamber of Commerce. Thank you all for being here. My name is Jason Levine, and I'm the chair of the West Orange Chamber of Commerce's Economic and Governmental Advisory Committee. That's a mouthful. You can also say EGAC, which also is an interesting thing to say. On behalf of the Chamber, thank you for inviting us to be here this evening and facilitate this important opportunity for town residents to get to know each of the candidates so that you can make an informed decision on who is best to lead your town over the next 4 years. The town of Windermere has always been a valued partner of the West Orange Chamber, as well as an integral part of the West Orange community. Just in case anyone was wondering, I am not a town resident, though once about 30 years ago, I did play Little League baseball here. So I will not be voting in this election. I'm not a town resident. I'm simply here to represent the chamber and make sure that everybody understands the folks that would like to be their representative. In the upcoming election, there are 3 open council seats and 5 candidates vying to fill those seats. The election will be held on Tuesday, March 11th, and tonight we are fortunate enough to have everybody here who's participating. Tonight's forum will include a 2-minute opening statement from each candidate, questions from me as moderator, questions from town residents, and only town residents, please, facilitated by me, and a 2-minute closing statement from each candidate. The 2-minute opening statements will begin in alphabetical order, and for the closing statements, we'll simply reverse that alphabetical order. Each candidate will be allowed 90 seconds to respond to a question. If a candidate's name is mentioned by another candidate, the candidate will be allowed 1 minute to respond. But they have been instructed, tonight is not a debate. It's simply a forum to get to ask questions and to get to know where they stand. I have a total of 6 questions for the candidates. After those questions have been answered, we'll then allow time for questions posed by town residents. Town residents can address the question to the entire group of candidates or to a single candidate. However, questions must remain civil in nature and not be derogatory or accusatory towards any candidate. Please remember, this is a forum to get to know each of the candidates, and once again, it is not a debate. Questions submitted by town residents will be randomly selected and reviewed by me as the moderator before being posed to candidates. If you have a question that you'd like to pose to the candidates, please write it on one of the forms provided and include your name and address. And Stephen, where will those forms be located? So they're on the table to stage left to your right. So please note Those forms are there. There's some pens and pencils up there as well, I believe. When asking questions for the group, the questions will be rotated so that each candidate will have the opportunity to answer first at some point. With that, let's do this. All righty. We'll begin our opening statements. I'll remind you that they should be 2 minutes each. And we'll start with Andy David.
Years, along with my husband, my 2 children. I am a daughter of an immigrant and also staff involved. I've been working here. I'm going to we get when you're and then but it's
Thank you very much. And Tony David.
Evening, everybody. Like Jason said, my name is Tony Davitz. Served 2 terms here in the Windsor Town Council. And I want to thank everybody that showed up. I love the turnout. It shows the interest and the involvement of our town in the town politics. I do also want to thank all of the candidates that are up here as well. During the last newsletter that was sent out to all the town residents, Andy Williams, a fellow councilman, reached out and called upon the residents to serve. And I thank each and every one of you for putting your name in that hat once again to serve, because this town deserves that. I've served 26 years in the United States Air Force. I've seen a lot of things, lived in 19 houses. So I know what is good and what is bad and how to fix things when they're not working properly. So I look forward to tonight. Jason, thanks for moderating. Stephen, thanks for setting us up with the West Orange Chamber of Commerce. And looking forward to the discussion.
And if we could, if each of the candidates could just pull those mics just a little bit closer so that the folks on Zoom can hear.
And we now have Frank Krenitz.
Okay, close enough. Okay, I'd like to thank the chamber for putting this on, and my fellow candidates and all of you for caring so much about the town. I consider it a privilege and a blessing to live here. I came to the lakes to ski, 1977, friends brought me. You know, I said, let's go to Windermere and Waterford. I said, what's Windermere? I found out. So I quickly appreciated what a real treasure this town is. We're doing about it. And that appreciation has gotten deeper from my involvement in the community. I can't think of living anywhere else. I've been serving on town committees and on Rotary since I retired 12 years ago. In that, I've learned a lot about the town, how it works, who does what, how to get things done, and what other people like and don't like. I enjoy that participation on the committees, and I treasure the relationships that have come from that. The town council is a big step. The committees help, they support town council with recommendations, they do projects for their own. I see town committee people in the room here, dedicated bunch of folks. I know that the town council makes the big decisions. Okay, decisions that affect the future of the town. It affects the lives and the welfare of all of us. And I take the role serious. I come from a long successful career in aerospace. Started doing detail engineering, managing projects, and then a lot of years in business development. I find that the training.
2 minutes. You can finish your 2 minutes though.
Oh, that's 2 minutes?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we're good. Mike, tell me that.
You can say a few words.
Okay, so I'm gonna listen to what you say. I'm gonna speak advice and mentoring. And I'll do the research. Or make sure the research gets done to make the decision. Okay.
Thank you. Jessica Lee.
So I grew up in this town. I've been here 15 years. And I've seen a lot of changes. I've seen a lot of good things happen, a lot of not so great things happen, but I wouldn't change living anywhere at all. I wouldn't change it for the world. My goal is to listen to each and every one of you and really hear you out and really try to do what the majority of the residents want. And I know sometimes that may not be what some people want or some people would like, but we are a town of great people, great residents, and that's my goal. I really want to preserve our lakes, help preserve our dirt roads, help preserve the beauty of this town and what makes this town absolutely. People move here for a reason, and a lot of that is our small town farm, our dirt roads, and the fact that we still have old Florida right here in our backyard. And I think we should preserve that, and I think we should also preserve, like I said, what makes this town great is the people, the families, and just how it's been run for so long. And I think we should get back to that small town feel and make sure that everyone feels involved and everyone feels welcome.
Drew. Hi, I'm Thomas Drew. My voice isn't normally this deep, but I kind of like it. I need to take my recording on my head. I was been here since 1999. My wife and I bought a condemned 1,000 square foot house over here in Seventh Forest. It's still 1,000 square foot. It's not condemned anymore. We rebuilt it. We spent 6 months rebuilding it. In that process, we lived a little bit of the old Windermere. Things, a lot changed in the last, 26 years or so. A lot of good things. But I also know what the old felt like, and I want to make sure we keep that too. And I look around this room, I see 2 or 3 generations of when I had 12 family members on my block, or within 2 blocks of where I live. That's how much we love it. We gravitate, we follow each other, we're like a herd. So I'm an outside person. If you come by my house, if anybody has come by my house in the last 20 years, I've hollered at you, good morning, or how are you doing? That's how I met almost everybody in Whitman I know until I got called town council. Literally was in my front yard or my workshop. I have an open workshop and people know where that's at, and there's community builds going on all the time. I was a SWAT commander for 29 years. I patrolled Orange County for 32. I discovered Windermere as a Marine Patrol officer patrolling these lakes out here. And I told my wife, I said, we're moving to Windermere. We had a big house in Eldora, and like, there's nobody here. So we want to go someplace where people are. Since I got here, I love everything that's happened in this town since I've been here. I wouldn't change nothing. I agree with every little thing. I see your orange thing there. And but your kids were over my house yesterday. It's a community house. And Windermere is a community. And I think we all feel safe. None of us feel like we want to change much about Windermere. We want to kind of keep it the way it is. The yellow card again, it's 2 minutes, okay. So anyway, that's my name, that's my spiel. Want to know more? Walk by my house between 8 and 10 a.m. and I'll holler at you.
Well, one thing that has changed is the greater Orlando area has become a soccer town. Don't make me give you a red card. So we'll move to the questions, and the first question for the folks at the is what set of skills or capabilities do you bring to the office that you feel would be a particular asset to the town? And we'll start with Tony.
Thanks, Jason. So let me just take a few minutes to run through some skills I think, may be a great fit for town council. One is experience. I've served 2 terms on town council already. Mandy, I, and Bill Martini were elected in the last election that was held in Windermere. So experience with working with town staff and town council. Additionally, I'm a civil engineer. So what does that mean to everybody? That means I know how to solve problems. I'm a strategic thinker. I've got a master's degree in strategic studies from the United States Air Force Air War College, which allows me to think through problems that are very complex and come to the right resolution. I mentioned before, I'm a military veteran, lived around the world, so I've got experience and I've seen a lot of different areas and what works and stuff. And lastly, I'm engaged. Some of you have probably seen me and my meathead dog, Benny, walking around the town, always looking around for things that need to be addressed, things that are great. That's something that I think we need to do more of, is walk around and just appreciate our town. Now, experience that I bring to the table outside of that, I'm currently the chief operating officer out of Orlando International Airport. I'm the president of the Red Horse and Prime Beef Association, which is the 501c19 military organization for Air Force Civil Engineers.
Number 97.
I'm the board member of the Sea Cadet, and I was recently appointed to the Greater Orlando Sports Commission. So with that skill set, I think I bring a lot to the table to be a member of the town council, my third thing.
Frank, what set of skills or capabilities do you bring to the office that you feel would be a particular asset to the town of Windermere?
Okay, so I'm another engineer. So I've got a lot of experience in decision making. So, technical side, there are a lot of issues around, things that need to be fixed. I think I can make an input to that kind of thing. Communication skills, I've written a lot of things. Most of them are things that people get through, proposals, documents, technical things. So right now, tree board is reviewing, the ordinance, town tree ordinance. So, that's something that I can get involved in, well, I am involved in right now. As well as the comprehensive plan. So the comprehensive plan is something, it's a document that covers everything the town does. So as a member of the, long range planning board, made input to that comprehensive plan. Other than that, I'm here. I live 3 blocks away. I'm around town all the way, everywhere on my bicycle. Kind of know what's going on. When trees need work, I see what's going on. I think that's pretty well covered.
Thank you. Jessica, what set of skills or capabilities do you bring to the office that you feel would be a particular asset to the town?
So besides having really deep roots in the area, my dad actually was one in elementary school. So he grew up here. Like I said, I grew up here. I would consider it a skill or an asset to really understand the town, how it works, how the process works, to get things through town council and move through all those steps. But besides all of that, I'm the vice president of sales and marketing of a company called Techmount, and we manufacture all kinds of really awesome things for the motorsports industry. I have a lot of business experience, a lot of experience in negotiations, and really trying to, I would say, like I said, negotiate, but come to middle ground and figure out what's going to work best for the entire organization as a whole. But I served on the board for an equine therapy and equine rescue, and that gave me a lot of great experience in running that organization, helping people, helping kids, and actually going out in the community and rescuing animals. So I understand how to communicate really well with people, and I am also not afraid to speak up. I'm not afraid to say what needs to be said and go out and ask the hard questions. My degree in psychology gives me a really great background in understanding people, understanding where people come from, and why they might do or say the things they do. But I'm here to negotiate, be your voice, and I think that's a really great skill.
Thank you. And Tom, what set of skills or capabilities do you bring to the office that you feel would be a particular asset to you?
Leadership. And I say leadership by example. I've mentioned before, because a big part of my life as a SWAT commander, nobody's ever parachuted in. They don't bring a guy in from patrol straight over to SWAT. You start at the bottom, work your way up. And nobody respects you on SWAT or any specialized unit for that matter, unless you work your way through the ranks. We always say we started off with push-ups. And then when you make your way to the top, you're still doing push-ups. That's the leadership I'm talking about, leadership by example. I was up there today with Tanya doing some bush planting and stuff. I repaired the doors on this building out here. I repaired the schoolhouse. So I say leadership by example. I don't ask anybody to do anything that I have not done or not willing to do. Every variance that's sent through, I'm gonna talk to the people. How does this affect the people that are most affected by this variance? It may not affect me on my corner, but I wanna know how it affects you personally. When I say leadership, I don't mean leadership by like, follow me. I mean leadership by watch me. If you like what I'm doing, come on along, we'll do it together. I don't believe in autocratic. You would think, SWAT was autocratic, but those 8 alpha dog personalities, not like being told what to do unless they see you doing it first. So when I say leadership, I mean leadership like that.
Thank you. And Mandy, what set of skills or capabilities do you bring to the office that you feel would be a particular asset to the
Well, two terms and 4 years here on the council. I also got the opportunity to work with Mr. Webster in his campaign, when he was campaigning back in the 80s. And then also got to work with Speaker of the House with him when he was in, the Florida Speaker of the House. Also, communication skills. I know I don't sound very polished, but I am a sign language interpreter and have worked with my own agency here for 15 years. I'm the president. And team player. Communication is so important because when a deaf person, I have to be able to understand them and fit in English. You also understand correctly, and then vice versa. And so I try to do the best I can to make sure my communication is clear and concise and not have too many fluff words to make it sound good. And also, I serve on the board of the College of Trade Athletes for the West Orange area. And I serve on the board for Faith and Love. And so I feel like I can bring leadership and serving. I love to serve, I love to be a part of the town and do things and come in and just help. I offer language classes here in town, and I hope you can still let me do that, whether or not I'm able to. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move to the second question and we'll start with Frank. What is the #1 challenge facing the town and what can you do to address said challenge?
Well, the #1 challenge, I think is the challenge, the commuter traffic that comes through town, twice a day. The challenge is huge. It's been looked at for years. Gary Broom, previous mayor, had an idea. For a connector from 535 to top of the island. Other than traffic safety things, education, good police work. I don't see Orange County taking initiative. I would like to see us resurrect that plan that Gary Broom had years ago and try to see if we can make that happen. Because that would take a lot of, one of the things that Gary told me that, Orange County said, hey, that's just gonna help women. And what Gary said is that's also gonna help people get to Disney and help them. So, other than that, I think little things we do are gonna help. We can maybe do things to actually discourage people, commuter traffic, make it a little harder. We don't want to stop up traffic, so we also don't want to encourage more.
All right, Jessica, the #1 challenge facing the town and what can you do to address it?
That's kind of a tough question for me. There's a few things that I think are very important that we need to work on here. But ultimately, I think that in order to do anything as far as fix the traffic or get any projects done in town, we need to find a way to gain the full trust back of residents in town. Because I think that there's some things that have happened in the past that have made quite a bit of residents a little bit untrustworthy of town plans, of things going on. And I think that my goal would be to actually go out into the community to fix that, and knock on doors, talk to people, and do my part as a member of town council to make sure every single person in this town is thoroughly informed on every aspect happening with the town, because it's extremely important. And there's many people who are busy and they don't have the time to search through town websites and apps and things like that. And so I think that we just need to get back to the basics of being a really good small town, a good neighborly type of place, and make sure people are well informed to fix it. And then we can definitely get their support for projects.
Thank you. And Tom, what's the number one challenge facing Windermere and how can you address it?
Interestingly enough, it's probably the same number one challenge that every town has, including large cities. I did a lot of research on this for a quality of life issue, paper that I wrote. There's noise and traffic. It's the same in New York City as it is in Windermere. Believe it or not, it's noise and traffic. However, I will say this, for as much traffic as we have cutting through, it's better than you could expect for the volume that comes through. When I'm talking about that, I'm talking about speeding and noise. Any of the community that has, whatever, 30,000 cars a day cutting through, believe me, they're going through faster and they're being a lot noisier. Windermere has done a great job for controlling that. Some of the things we can do and we are doing, and this is gonna happen whether I'm elected or not, is that speeding traffic up coming to the circle at the far north side of town, speeding traffic going through the circle on the far south side of town. I personally think there's a couple more spaces that we can put some diverters in people's key areas and key neighborhoods, one on Lake Street, one I'm thinking of right now, Bill Martini South. The one we did on Oakdale was fantastic, and it just gave everybody the quality of life back. When we talk about traffic and noise, it's not always, or it's not necessarily a safety issue, it's a quality of life issue. So when we talk about controlling traffic and noise, it's not just the speeding and the noise how it affects the person in the car or the people in the street. It's how it affects our quality of life in the community. And that's what my priority is for every decision, is the quality of life for the residents.
Thank you. And Mandy, number one issue facing the town and how would you address
You know, I think we all have a commonality there, traffic and parking was my other one. With the traffic, I think we've made strides because of the diverter on Oakdale. I think that, helped a lot, keeping, through traffic going through, from Sixth Street. And also, the roundabouts at Windermere, I know that Windermere, that's gonna come at some point, and we're also gonna work on the roundabout at Sixth. I think the roundabout at Windermere is a big issue, and I think that that will help traffic a whole lot because of the stop sign there, and then we have the growing. So I think that will help clear traffic going through a little more. The parking, you know, I think we've done really well with that. We've been able to put parking signs, no parking signs out on Forest in some of the streets for big events that we've been holding. And I think that the residents appreciate the work that we've done there and that we've been able to eliminate a lot of people coming into town because, you know, they can't park in certain places. So I think once we get those roundabouts done and we get the traffic flowing a little better and get some crosswalks in, I think for safety for the kids and pedestrians walking, I think that we'll see the traffic flowing a whole lot.
And Tony, number one issue and how would you, excuse me, how would you address
For Jason, I think it's unanimous. So, what I put down was the surrounding growth and traffic. But I'm taking a little bit of a different approach to solving it. I am the town's representative to the Municipal Advisory Committee for Metro Plan Orlando. Metro Plan Orlando is a regional group that looks at traffic solutions in its entirety around Osceola, Orange, and Seminole counties. What we're doing and what you'll see, if you go down the turnpike, you'll see a new exit being built on Sand Lake to get onto the turnpike from Sand Lake. What that's going to do is decrease the catchment area for this roadway coming in and through Windermere. What folks will be able to do then is take Sand Lake out to the turnpike, come around to an improved State Road 429 to get to Horizons West. These folks aren't coming to Windermere. They're not coming near Windermere. They're traveling through to go to Horizons West. So by decreasing traffic coming through Windermere and diverting them in and around the area, that's how we solve the problems. And working with those regional groups to solve those is how we do it.
All right, thank you. We'll move on to the third question. This may be a loaded question. Start with Jessica. What has the town done right in recent years?
I think it's done great things. But I would say that recently, the town listened to residents when the residents voiced their opinion about structures and they didn't want built, which is really great. That's how things should work. And it's great that the town also holds these cultural reps to let people get involved and try to voice their opinion and all that good stuff. There's also some really great town events that bring the community in and bring the community together. One of them is Tops and Bobbers, which I think is really great. So I think this is getting the community involved, giving them a voice, and trying to make sure everyone has a chance to do, I would say, either get on a committee or get involved with a town event. All that kind of thing is really great, and it's open to anyone. It's wonderful.
Thanks. Tom, what has Windermere done right in the past few years?
Yeah, a lot. And a lot of, that's a loaded question too, because some people, it affects them more than others. So I can stand on my corner and look at some real positive changes that help improve my lifestyle and evident my block. Agree with it or don't agree with it, the Fernwood Park gate gave me my life back. It was, the weekends were just hundreds of people racing up and down the street, hoping to get their vote in. I know it was might be happy for some people who live here now, they have gates there, but if you live in our street, you'd be happy too, I promise you that. The gate currently going in down Lake Street is giving the people on Lake Street their life back. That's a wild party on the weekends. If you're in the wild parties, go there, but they're entertainment with the gates. Not paving the streets. I know that some people want streets paved, some don't. I couldn't be happier they're not paved. I do think we should address the drainage issues, and we're doing that, and there's some great money coming up, things like that. Town involvement. That's what I've seen the most. I mean, I'll be honest with you, when I first started coming to these meetings years ago, it was like 3 people. Then it turned into 5 people, and then 7. And this is one of the biggest things I think the town has done right, because this encompasses all of what goes on in Windermere. These town meetings, so when it comes to all, so whether it's affecting me personally, whether it's Manners, whether it's Willows, it happens right here. And the more involvement we have here, the more effective we have on people's quality of life. And that's what the town has done right, I think, mostly the last few years of town involvement.
Thank you. And Mandy, what has the town done right in the last few years?
Well, I concur with Tom, the Fernwood Gate and the Lake Street Gate is strides for sure, and for the residents surrounding the area. Communication for me is the biggest one I've seen that's been just phenomenal, because when we have new projects going on, that we're not first go out 500 houses around or 500 feet around. And I think that the website and the communication on the Facebook page, letting people know about meetings and committee meetings, and it's so much work goes involved there. And I do believe that the town has made huge strides in making sure that the residents are aware and that they can be involved and show up to things. And I think that's one thing that I really appreciate about the town.
And Tony, what has Windermere done well in the last few years?
So a few things, Jason. So one of the things that I think that we do really well is help our residents times of need. You can see that in response to the recent past hurricane season. Tanya and her team and John Fitzgibbon has really stepped up, helping in clearing the roadways, clearing the trees that have fallen. And as if you go through around the rest of Orange County, Windermere does a really good job. Within 30 days, most of that debris is cleaned up. You drive around Orange County or around the surrounding areas, and it's 3 months and it's still paying. We do a really good job of that. Tom mentioned the efforts at the lakes. He mentioned Fernwood Park. I'd also like to mention the cooperation with Orange County to solve the Bird Island dilemma. We went out and put a no swim zone along with Orange County around Bird Island, which brought down the amount of partying and loud music, that was distracting our residents along the lakes. And then I'd be really remiss if I didn't mention all the town events. Pam Martini's here. She puts on an Armed Forces Day for the active duty military. I think that focus on that is really awesome. You see across from the town admin building, we brought Old Glory back to remember Edmund Fitzgibbon. Windermere Wine and Dine, not only the event itself, but all the charitable contributions that it offers to the town. And then the one that's ongoing right now is the Centennial Celebration. Celebrating Windermere's 100 years of being a town. You won't find that in other towns around Florida, around the US. And that's really what this town is about.
Thank you. And Frank, what has Windermere done right in the last couple of years?
So most of my list has been covered already, so the hurricane recovery, I have to say. Police department accreditation, that was huge. If you want to read something that's an amazing document, get the spec. On the case it is, but what our police department has accomplished, what those people do, and the growth that has happened with the way Chief Ogden runs that department and grows his staff. Police department is the midway. If you were here before Chief Ogden, it's totally different police and a totally different town. The Bird Island, Orange County cooperation there with, huge, I lived there as well. So, increasing the tree mitigation. You probably don't see it going down the street very often, but there are a lot of trees disappearing from the town. We've lost so many trees, storms, from a variety of things. The developers don't pay attention basically to the tree ordinance, and tree ordinance, the mitigation fee was so low that it was ignored. That's a big help. And strengthening volunteer advisory. So Tanya brought in a facilitator to help committees develop their own strategic plans. So what, 15 seconds? So the
5 seconds.
okay, the 500 block. You may not like everything. I worked with the developer did a lot of things good, made compromises they didn't have to have. Way better, they have the trees.
Thank you. And with that, we're halfway through the prepared questions. So we'll flip that question on its head and we'll start with Tom. What could the town have done better in recent years? And if elected or re-elected, how would you address that issue?
I could use some more trees in my yard. My yard could take another tree, right, maybe. The town is not, it's us. We're the town. So when you ask them, what could the town do better, you're not talking about town council, you're not talking about the mayor, you're talking about us. We all live here. We're not getting paid. Eventually, I hope every one of you have the same opportunity to sit up here, but we can't say what can the town do better without saying what can you do better? What can you do better? Try to stay behind your neighbors. Scream it, even with the ear pods on. They hear you, right, Terry? They still hear you. Say hi to your neighbors. You walk by. I know everybody's busy, but when you walk past, when you're walking your dog, or you're pushing a stroller, don't look down, look up. Say hi. After about the third time, they'll stop you and say, "What's your name?" It takes about 3 times. The elderly, the Windermere. Don't assume that somebody is taking care of the 80-year-old lady next door. 90-year-old, because it's not true. And I can tell you that because we have spent time rebuilding an old lady's bathroom here in town. Nobody even knew she had a bathroom that didn't work. It's Windermere, I get it, it's Windermere. We have money, right? All 1,000 square feet of it. But there are people in town who have needs, so we say, what can the town do better? We just look at I do.
Thank you. And Mandy, what could the town have done better? And if re-elected, what would you do to address it?
I'm along with Tom, just being a family, the town has always been a small, quaint little town, and we pride ourselves on it. And I think that we don't do enough of that anymore, especially with the users. And I had an opportunity to be able to go to a neighbor who had just come home from the hospital and just take a plate of brownies over. And I only knew because he had been chatting and our husband texting. So be engaged with your neighbors and be engaged with your friends, because you never know. They may not tell you that, that they've been in the hospital. And then also, let's take pride in our town again. I know we're doing renovations on town council, but let's give staff the resources to be able to keep things up. Have a budget item line in there so that when we finish the renovation, that they can have an extra co-work person on staff so that they can make sure that our town stays great and stays clean and stays, picked up the way we like it. That's what the charm is. The charm is the town hall. The charm is the trees. The charm is, so let's beautify it. Let's make sure we have that in the budget and give the town the resources to do so.
Thank you. And Tony?
I'm gonna have to, let Mandy read my notes anymore. So, while I agree, we do have good day-to-day communications, I think there's no such thing as over communicating. One of the recent, issues that came up that I thought we could have done better on was the pavilion project that the Rotary was leading up at. We had gone down the road, we had gotten the design underway. We thought we had residents' consensus with, the way ahead that we were doing. But when we started asking questions and getting thoughts, it was clear that once we took down the community restrooms and made the, clear space behind here, that's what the residents wanted. So, we got a little sideways there. We didn't probably communicate enough or solicit enough, input from the different residents. So we could always do that. In the future, what we need to do is we need to come together and we need to figure out what we're going to do with town hall. We had a design charrette recently led by Ray Trim to figure out what town square is going to look like. So those type of engagements is what I think the town can do better, get input. But what that means is you all need to participate as well. Okay, you can't let 5 folks sitting up on the dais make the decisions. You need to be engaged. When we have the design charrette, please come out and help us out. I know what I like. I'm an engineer. I like things that work. My wife's the designer. She's the one that makes it pretty. So we need all to be together, to decide what town square, town hall needs to look like. So please, I think that's one of the things we could really.
Thank you. Frank, go ahead.
Here's one I think Tony stole my notes. So to some people, pavilion is a dirty word. So I'm a Rotary guy. I lost a lot of people. So, there were warning signs, there were things we should have seen. But there were opportunities all the way along for compromise. Compromise in design, compromise in placement, how big it is. This is something attached to the town hall as a little thing, a gazebo. As a community, I believe as a community, we failed on that one. With few exceptions, I think, we didn't come together to make that happen, or to conserve, to not throw away great knowledge. I remember being at one meeting where Mayor Bryan stopped the decision from being made to finally kill it. He said, maybe there's a path. I don't remember the exact words of that, but I do remember some of them. He said, to make this happen, to recover something from here, we all need to do service above self. That's a really why. But we didn't do it. The community, we just didn't do it. So the kinds of things that we talked about here, we're all going to help. I think we can do better.
All right. And Jessica, what could the town have done better in recent years? And if elected or re-elected, how would you address it?
So, sort of piggybacking off of what someone just said, communication is a really big issue and very important to me. I think that the town has done a great job in some aspects, but like I mentioned this year with the pavilion project, that was sort of a failure. So I think that as town council members, it's our duty to go around and speak to residents and really get input ourselves instead of relying on people to come out to meetings and come out to us. Ultimately, we are community servants and we are residents here. We're part of the community. So going out ourselves, speaking to residents and letting them know these things might help that. On the other hand, in order to do these projects, we have to make sure the town is focusing on staying in budget. And so we have to make sure that we're taking a look at everything, figuring out what we can cut, figuring out what isn't necessary, and deciding if it's time to make some changes to save the town money. There's projects that are going to be talked about, there's projects that some people in this room have been working on for years. And unfortunately, that's part of life, but sometimes those things don't come to fruition, especially if that's what the residents as a whole don't want. So we just gotta listen to residents.
Thank you. Mandy, I have a question for you. What is your main priority if reelected for the town? Rather, for the town council?
But there's two projects that are currently, that I've been able to see start, and I would like to see finished, is, town hall renovation. I love the fact that we have the residents come in and give ideas and for the kitchens and the bathrooms, and I would like to see that continue along with the town renovation, and also, the trail that's going through town, because I feel like that will connect the north side of town with downtown and also all the way to the grove. And I think it will also provide safety for the kids and walkers to go to school every day. So I'm anxious for that bridge and the trail to be done. And I would love to be a part of that, to see that.
Thank you. Tony, what is your main priority for the town council?
Yeah, so I took a little bit of a different stint on this. I didn't necessarily focus on the project, but on myself, with my role in town council. And, you know, my main priorities in doing that is to continue to serve the town residents. I want to apply my talents and experiences to promote and better the town. I want to continue to engage with residents, to be the conduit for them on town council. As you know, town council votes on many things that affects the residents of Windermere. I need to understand what those positions are, you know, whether I differ with them or not. I have been, you know, known to invite folks that have differing opinions over to my house. We sit around and have a beer on a Saturday afternoon, and we discuss, we figure out what my, okay, I see that as my main priority. Everyone sitting in this room are residents of Windermere. I want to be your conduit in town council to promote what's best for the town.
Thank you. And Frank, your main priority?
Yeah, I think, you know, a couple of simple things that they like. But you get some better pedestrian crossing safety devices and do some more traffic calming, situational awareness kind of devices around town. So the number one thing is at the roundabout where the kids cross the board. And that needs work. I think it's maybe on the plan. Probably another one on 6th, but those are simple things we can get done and get them done quick.
And Jessica, main priority at Flex?
My main priority was sure community safe, more crosswalks for kids. Also taking a look at the amount of speeding that's going on in, I would say, the back roads of the dirt road. I'm sure if any of you walk your dogs or go for walks in the evenings or early mornings or anytime throughout the day, you'll notice that there has been less police activity on our dirt roads as far as patrolling. And there's been a lot of people speeding heavily around town to the point where a lot of times you have to jump in the grass to get out of the way, putting your kids, your dogs, and what have you at risk. So I think we need to kind of figure that out and see what's happening. And also just listening to residents and figuring out what needs to be fixed and focusing our budget on fixing our infrastructure in town and fixing what needs to be fixed, rather than moving forward with projects that we may not need at the moment.
All right, thank you. And Tom, your main priority?
I have to say I don't have a main priority. I like to address things as they come because sometimes priorities change based on the need. So there's no main priority as far as order of priorities go. I think the town hall, I live in a 100-year-old house. I think the town hall needs some work and done on that. That's not a priority. The bathrooms, I guess I had to lay first things first, but it'd probably be downtown bathrooms. That's based on input from all of the business owners downtown who are affected by not having a bathroom down here. The roundabouts are a big one, and I think a lot of the stuff that we're talking about is already in place. I love that we're keeping this green here, even though the shred, when everybody talks about how do we do town center, we still wanted to keep green the way it was. Personally, my suggestion is a little hint, splash pad for kids downtown, maybe. I like kids a lot, even if they're not mine. I like splash pad ideas, always a family-friendly thing for a community to get together on a hot summer day and hang out down there. But as far as priorities go, kind of look at it a little bit like I did SWAT missions, whatever is most important at the time is what we have to address, regardless of what's important to us personally. And I've learned that, to be honest with you, and Jim told me this, he said, give it 2 years, and I'm like, he was right. 2 years later, you realize, you know what, it's not just about the community, it's about what the community wants. So priority is gonna be based on what the community needs.
Thank you. And with that, we will move to the final prepared question. Tony, you're up first. If elected, what would you do to ensure that town residents remain informed and engaged on issues affecting the town?
Jason already mentioned that there's no such thing as over communicating. You know, we need to continue to do that, you know, open up all streams of communication. Like I mentioned before, I'm very open to phone calls and walks and discussions. There's several in the room that have called me and I've watched different projects or areas with them. You know, keep that dialogue open. And encourage residents to get involved. You know, communication is a two-way street. I can only act on town council on what I know your positions are. So you need to be involved as well. So I ask everybody in this room, talk to your neighbors, get them involved. The town will be a much better place if we're all involved in discussing. I'm very confident we can all figure out what right looks like if we're all involved in comparing our notes.
Thank you. Frank, if elected, what would you do to ensure that residents are informed and engaged on the issue?
First off, I'm, pretty happy with it. But, top to bottom, pretty successful. There are some gaps, and people always, don't get the word, sometimes from their own, activity. But what I do is, do a serious study, and one of the town committees can do that. So, long range, I would tag long range planning to look at what other communities do, what Orange County does, take a look. It's pretty good. But anyway, do the research, look at what the best setups, communication setups, top to bottom are. Look for the gaps, try to fill the gaps. And then, implement whatever it is the committee comes up with, or at least put it before town council, to make those kind of things.
All right. Jessica, what would you do to ensure that residents remain informed and engaged?
So I think one of the benefits to our town is that we're a very small town. So we don't necessarily have to spend money on extra studies or anything to figure this out. We're all human, and I think that we all know what to do as far as communicating. So for me, like I said, that means myself going around knocking on doors, maybe having like a coffee and donut hour with residents. And part of that is in the first place, making sure that they are aware that there are all of these projects, all these things going on, to pique their interest, to get them to then want to come to meetings, want to come to the stress and be a part of committees and all that good stuff. Another thing is, yes, we do have signs that pop up in town saying, town council meeting this date and time. But one of the things that I think would be interesting is to possibly get a sign made for center of town somewhere, maybe here by town hall. It has where we can change it easily. Say there's town meeting this day and time, and then bullet point the agenda for that meeting. So that way people who are walking their dog or just hanging out in town can see what the main points of that meeting are going to be, and then figure out if they want to get involved in that.
Thank you. And Tom, what would you do to ensure that town residents remain informed and engaged?
So 21 years ago, I noticed the roof on the old schoolhouse needed repair. So one weekend, me and 3 other guys got up there and repaired it. There was no bulletin, there was no flyer, there was no newsletter. We saw it, we did it. Bird Island was word of mouth. People had concern because it really affected them. I found that if people care a lot about something, you don't have to tell them a lot. They're going to find out from you. We do a pretty good job putting it out there on the internet and the websites and stuff. But word of mouth is the number one way to get any message across to anybody, because I'll admit, I mean, I'm not the best at my phone or my internet or my emails, but I'm good at talking. So I think that the best way to improve communication is just for us to communicate. Just talk to each other. Like I said, when you see each other in the street, hey, you know they have a big thing tonight. On top of that, there's an app you can get on your phone. I know it sounds actually complicated or not, but I get all my information off my app now. And then if you're as fortunate as I am to have a personal administrator that I have to call my wife, just send everything to her, and I don't miss anything. I'm gonna stop there.
Probably a wise
I
choice.
think I just got the red card from Stephen.
Maybe if re-elected, what would you do to ensure that the town residents are informed and engaged?
Engage with the residents. I know that I have had coffee with several of you. I answer emails, I have phone conversations, I've gone to site with you. Just the openness, and I love to listen. It's my job, I have to listen all the time. But I do listen, and I would love to brainstorm and just figure things out. And even if we can't come up with an answer or an answer that is to the residents' liking, at least you've been heard. And so that's my thing, is just contact us, just email us, call us, text us. I answer email. My husband says way too quickly and at odd times of the evening. Just openness for the residents and engagement.
Thank you very much. And at this time, all of these folks are sitting up here on the dais because of you folks and the rest of the town's residents. And they would love to entertain some questions from you. I see some of you have the cards. I'll come, or Stephen, I think will collect them quickly, and we'll go through that. As mentioned before, please use the form if you've not already, if you have any questions, and please do include your name and your address. The point of which is we do ask that only town residents participate in asking questions.
Easy questions on with, please.
All right, the first question. What is each candidate's position regarding the boathouse lawsuit? We'll start with
I
Tony.
always an easy question.
Yeah. Let's start with Tony, since we just did it with me.
So my position on courthouse litigation that's ongoing, this started in 1986 with the town council coming to what they thought was a resolution for the ownership of the courthouse. In 1986, the town agreed to sign a 15-year lease with the lessor. In that lease, what it says is the town was the lessor, aka the owner, and the residents were the lessees. Okay. After the 15 years, the intent of the town council was for the boathouse to be reverted back to the town to determine what would happen. Here we are in 2001, they renewed the leases. In 2000, shortly thereafter, they extended that lease to 2021. So in 2021, we picked up, the challenge again after, several decades to resolve what's going on with the boathouse. Quite honestly, I don't care what happens as far as determination of ownership, whether it's the residents of the boathouses or the town. What I don't want to happen is for my kids to be sitting up on town council in 20 years trying to resolve the same issue. I want it to be resolved. That's my position.
Thank you, Frank.
So mine's similar. I understand it's not in our hands anymore. It is in the hands of, the legal, profession. So what the town council does from this point on, probably moot. I've been on both sides of the issue. I'm with Tony, I'd like to see it resolved. I've kind of given up on, I'm not gonna side with one, one party or the other. I have a hard time with the position that the boathouse owners have taken, given that they decided years ago, that there would be an endpoint. So I don't understand that. I also don't understand the meaning of ownership with regard to a quitclaim. I mean, I know what a quitclaim deed is. I can give you a quitclaim deed to the backside of the moon. Doesn't mean much. You can't take it to a title insurance company. So position on the other side is also not totally strong. There's a lot of, there's from 200 pages of information that kind of convey ownership and claim ownership. So I'm with whatever the board decides. Hopefully it'll be done quickly.
Jessica,
So this is a very interesting topic to me because coming from a legal studies background, I do have a lot of knowledge of the process of this lawsuit and also have done the legal research about this lawsuit and also have spoken to the people who used to actually own the property where the boathouse sits. And first off, we all know that if you can't prove ownership of something, you can't then go and write a lease for that property. And so we need to figure out if that original lease was actually valid in the first place. Because if it wasn't valid in the first place, the entire thing was away. Second off, town council members do have the ability to put a stop to this. So they can come together and vote and say, we're done. We don't want to spend any more money. It's also interesting to me that there was a member of town council who stated that he wouldn't mind if the town spent $1 million on this lawsuit, which for our small town, that's a lot of money. We're already over budget and there's issues within the town being fixed. Years ago, when those things were originally built, there was a family that owned them. They gave them to their friends, family, all that stuff. We all know that way back then, those types of build a little boathouse, a dock, whatever, you give it to your buddy, you say, hey, let's go fishing, and then you hand it over to them. So we need to figure out, like I said, was the original lease valid, and also keep in mind that many of the boathouse owners today did not sign that original.
thanks. Tom, your position.
Well, I was not on town council when it started, I don't know if it started. And I was hoping that it would go away before I got on town council. I don't think go away, but be resolved, but it did not. I tried to ignore it for the first year and I couldn't ignore it. Especially when I started looking at the expenses I don't know, I also have an issue with whether the lease is even valid at all. I also thought to myself, if I'm Mr. Palmer or whoever in 1940, whatever, and I got a buddy, I want to give him my boathouse, I don't do it legally, I still want him to have it. So that's, in my mind, just practically old school thinking. I want to know what the original intention was when it was handed to whoever it was handed to. And I don't know the answer to that. If it belongs to the town, then it belongs to the town. If it belongs to the residents, then it belongs to the resident. I don't. So I requested several meetings, and they're on record, to find out more, because I didn't want to just not know, because thinking that, if I don't know, then I can't be held accountable. So we had a couple extra meetings, and I found out more. I actually requested more negotiation. I did not want it to go to trial. I still don't want it to go to trial. Cost of trial is going to be another $500,000 combined. I'd love to see it resolved before trial. I don't know what the outcome is. I don't know who the owner is. I'm not privy to that information, and it is going to trial. I just wish it could have been resolved sooner. And when it is resolved, I hope that everybody can still be amiable about it and not be any enemies made on this any more than there already is. And I hope for reconciliation.
Thanks. Mandy.
Also, thanks to the council in 2021 who waited for us newbies to get on for this to fall in our lap. But getting caught up on it, I with Tony, I just think we need a decision. We need to know. And the judge will be able to tell us from all the information that he has, all the people who are telling him the information and all the documentation that he has and he's received from our lawyers and from their lawyers, and I think that's the best way, because we kick it down the road again, and in 20 years, another 50 years, we're gonna be back in the same boat. So I think if we at least know one way or the other, whether the town knows them or the residents don't know, I think it's just better to know, and then we can just go on and be amicable, everybody to get along.
Here's the easy question.
Start with me.
Right. How long has each council member lived within town boundaries?
Thank you.
How long have you served? Been a resident of the county? How long have you lived in Windsor?
Well, it's 1979. Moved to Oakdale Street in 1979, moved to Fourth Street in 1985, after 40-some years.
Thank you. Jessica?
So I've lived here for about 17 years, grew up between here and Winter Garden, but before we moved to the property, we would come over here, to go on the lake and enjoy the property before building our home. So, it's just a really special place, and I hope it continues to be a special place.
Counting the 6 months we lived here with no electricity. By the way, we do have air conditioning. I know people here think we don't have air conditioning, but we just choose not to use it, but we do. Required by law. 1999.
Andy?
We moved here in 2010, so almost 15 years in May. But grew up here, used to go to the town when I was a little girl, playing the lake, and I made that from here, so it's been dear to my heart for many years, but 15.
Thanks. And Tony?
So when I retired from the military in 2017, I did a brief stint in Texas. Texas is a good idea, it's not good in practice. Anybody who's driven through Texas, yeah, so we decided we'd take an opportunity here in Orlando in 2019. And I remember the day that Mary Ann and I drove through Windermere, and she looked at me and said, "We're living here." So, you know, we chose to live in Windermere in 2000.
Wonderful. So I have multiple cards, so I'm gonna kind of paraphrase that. I'll drill back down to the bathrooms. So let's make the question this. If elected to town council or re-elected to town council, would you be open to reconsidering location? And I believe we'll start with Jessica.
Okay, so as far as location, I'm guessing we need not where the original bathrooms were. I would be open to that as long as it is in a centralized location where anybody going to the shops around here or the restaurant or walking their dog, going for, you don't have dogs, just going for a walk. Walking through this area that you can stop and use the restroom easily and don't have to go like out of the way too far. Yeah, I'm open to it. Just find a great place for it.
Oh,
We've already voted on this several times, so it's a kind of moot question, but I like where it's going. If we could have a standalone someplace or maybe wasn't supposed to go in, that would have been ideal. But I like that. The parking lot access is right there, handicap access is right there. It's kind of off the beaten path. We can have access from this porch straight into it from there. Every event can come around the backside and get into it from there. If you can't see it from the front of the building. So for me, I think it's
Andy?
I agree with Tom, and also for the ADA compatibility, because my dad, not only is he deaf, but he's partially, he's born to one eye. So lighting, being close to the building, and not having to trek in the dark and tripping over sidewalks and roots and trees, and all that. I do think that, you know, with all the talks and discussions we've had and with the residents, I believe that we decided a perfect.
Tony?
Yeah, I agree with Tom and Mandy. You know, a lot of study has gone into that. A lot of design dollars have already gone into that. Taking a step back would just be a waste of that. We have evaluated that, and trust me, I understand people have opinions on where these restrooms should or shouldn't go. You know, but everybody has an opinion. So it's up to town council, and the reason why we sit up at the dais is town council to make those decisions. So no, I'm not.
Thanks. And Frank?
Okay, So, I respect what the town engineer does. I've listened to him tell the story of why they're here and not on the else. I've also talked, I'm on a tree board, it's me and six women. I'm on the historic board, it's me and I forgot how many women. And I know a lot of other women. Everyone I've talked to said, don't put them here. Okay, for a variety of reasons, and I get the engineering is all, supports. I guess being a guy, I want to hear it.
Fair enough. So we of course have to talk about traffic. So again, there's a couple of cards, I'll kind of fuse them together. If anybody's feathers are too ruffled, I apologize. We'll phrase it like this. Do you support making traffic easier to flow through town or harder as a deterrent to flow through town? And how do you address concerns that redevelopment, new construction, might bring even greater traffic challenges? And we'll start with Tom.
So this corridor bypass, this is that Frank was talking about, that Mayor Bruin brought up. I don't know that that's ever gonna happen truthfully, because you're talking about even cutting through, there's this exclusive neighborhood south of us, and nobody wants that bypass. Can't connect 535 with top of the line. Great idea. Years ago, I'm talking years ago, they were gonna follow the power line. You know where the power line goes through? Our. Not gonna happen. South of that is Phillips Landing. Not gonna happen. How much further south are you gonna go? So if anything like that, I think Tony's study plan of Sand Lake Road, in theory, is gonna divert traffic somewhere else, and maybe it will, because everybody is trying to get that way. I get it. And I take my granddaughter to Dr. Phillips, does the aquatic center, and I hate it that way right now. It's miserable. But it does look like our game is to figure out how that road's gonna look when it's done, without going on the internet and checking on it, because it's kind of like the game of what bridge is that gonna do, So I think it's gonna be better. That's gonna help, but at the same time, we're gonna get more growth. The solution for noise and traffic is a decision made by every driver that comes through here. Is whether we have more traffic or less traffic, is you can have no traffic and still have crappy drivers. The decision is on the driver. Awareness, blue lights, slow people down. I had this conversation with the chief, both chiefs. Awareness, having cops out there more often, even if you don't like tickets, get those blue lights hunted. People get the impression that Windermere slow down. That's our solution. It's education and awareness.
Mandy.
Personally, selfishly, I could say not have them come through town, make it harder. But I think realistically, we're gonna have to figure out a way to make it ease the flow, and because I just don't think realistically, we're gonna be able to say, go the other way. Selfishly, I'd love to be able to do that. But I think we just kind of need to, have some more discussions and figure out the ease of going through town versus, making it more complicated than all of it.
Thanks. Tony.
Jason, I think if I understood your question correctly, is whether we should increase capacity of traffic through town or restrict capacity of traffic.
Essentially, that literally what came from the audience was make it harder, make it easier.
I would say neither. I would say get traffic out of town. Keep the roadways safe. Do things to enhance the safety of the roadways in town. But let's work with our municipal partners and Metro Plan and the county and the surrounding areas. Get traffic out of Windermere. That's the solution. We can sit here and contemplate solutions all day long, but until we get traffic count down, entering town and leaving town, it won't matter. It won't matter.
Thank you, Frank.
Sometimes it's brittle. I think I would make it harder. I would make it harder in ways that are not dangerous, but more of a kind of a nuisance level, or some way that encourages other paths. So we could do something maybe to educate people that there are other paths, and there are. And eventually, potential is much higher traffic through town, because the growth out there is continuing and it's fast. So making it easier is the wrong thing.
All right, and Jessica.
I think it's about kind of finding a way to have a deterrent for people to drive through town. As we all know, there is quite a few other ways that you can avoid downtown Windermere, and so I think that people need to use those ways. They're already there. There's Coffee Island, wide road. And you can get to Winter Garden, you can get, all the other cities around, you can do that. Our police department is amazing, but over the last few years, many of us residents have noticed that there has been less lights around town, and used to be, people were afraid to go 2 miles an hour over in here. You knew you were gonna get a ticket. And I think that cuts a lot of people from speeding through town, driving through town, because they didn't want to deal with it. So the nuisance kind of idea is a good one. Putting a road over or through these fancy neighborhoods or anybody's neighborhood, I don't think is a good idea. We need to respect other residents of other municipalities and private property rights and all of that good stuff. So I think that we need to find a way to kind of like Nancy said, make it a little bit easier with the flow of traffic, but also have that deterrent to make sure people don't want to drive badly through town or speed or, make it more dangerous for the rest.
All right, thank you. And I've got one final question. We'll start with you, Mindy. Each of you individually, what committees have you served on and what were your biggest accomplishments?
I unfortunately did not serve on any committees before I got into council, because I stupidly jumped on council first. So, but I want to be able to be a liaison for Parks and Rec, the WAVE, and the farmers market and food trucks. So I have had the privilege of being sitting into the committee meetings, but I have not had the opportunity to serve.
Thank you. And Tony?
Are you talking prior to town council or?
It's not specified, so let's say within local politics, what committees have you served on and what were your biggest accomplishments?
I also, like Mandy, was foolish enough to jump right into town council, but since the joining town council, I served on the long range planning committee. I currently serve on the historic preservation board. I served on the Butler Chain Lakes committee. I am the liaison for public works and the construction projects committee. And like I mentioned before, I'm the municipal advisory committee representative for Metro Planner.
Thank you. Frank?
Okay, so I've served on the tree board since retired in 2013. I was the secretary for 11 years. Secretary, to me is a good way to find out everything about what goes on. You got to pay attention. So I learned a lot about tree boards and how things work around town that way. And I'm currently the chair of that committee. Long range planning, I've been on long range planning for a couple of years. I guess the most significant thing is I contribution to the comprehensive plan. Also, with what Tanya did to bring a facilitator in, we developed a strategic 5-year plan for that board, and the committee worked on it. The Historic Preservation Board, I've been on that for a couple of years. Again, another 5-year strategic plan. So those, let's see, was on Parks and Rec for a couple of years. Not sure I did anything in Parks and Rec.
You're a TV stuff?
So they didn't need Parks and Rec.
Thank you. And Jessica?
So I would be just like Mandy and Tony and jump right into town council, but I have myself volunteered within the town in the county quite a bit. And I also for quite a while was aiding the legal aid societies, with the local legal aid societies, to help people with their citizenship paperwork, help with things on their records, help with name changes, pretty much anything the legal matter that people would need. We offered pro bono work to help whoever needed it. But I don't necessarily think that not serving on a town specific committee for this is a bad thing. Because it's human nature to want to vote in favor of the committees that you serve on or that you have served on. So I'm coming into this without any biases, without any I don't feel like I have to serve a specific person or committee or whatnot. So, I also think that we, need to take a look at being on town council and also serving on committees at the time. But, we're here to serve the community and that's what I'm used to.
Thank you very much. And Tom?
I was not writing, her any notes, I was using her paper to write mine myself, because I did not bring paper and pencil, 'cause I wanted to just be open. Police liaison, tree board, long range planning, elder committee, an unofficial and obscure but very effective gratitude walk committee, which is not official, but on Mondays, we meet down here and take the whole neighborhood for a walk. We haven't done it since years ago, but we're starting back this Sunday, 4:30. You gotta do it. And we just meet down here and everybody goes walk in the park, kids and dogs play, and we come back. Everybody's seen it usually, but. So 4 or 5 committees, I may have left one off, but, I agree with Jessica. I don't think it makes you qualified or not qualified to serve on town council. I think you can do just as an effective job getting on here. It's the willingness to do it. I've had this couple of you out there that talk to me about running town council, and I always encourage you, you need to run it against me. So it's the willingness to do it that we're looking for. So yeah, and that goes for everybody here. It's the willingness to do it. It's not whether you did it or not. It's you are willing to do it. So hope to serve on some more.
All right, thank you. That will move us to the 2-minute closing statements. So we'll work our way back across the stage. Tom, you're still up. 2 minutes, closing statement.
I wouldn't trade this for nothing. This is a great process. I wouldn't trade the 2 years that I've been here for nothing. Win, lose, or draw. I'm not gonna stop volunteering for this town. I'm not gonna stop saying hi to people on the street. I'm not gonna stop coming to the meetings. I'm not gonna stop having an opinion. I'm not gonna stop being involved. Bill Martini asked me to take his place 2 years ago, because I think he saw that I had the willingness to do it. I'm still willing to do it. So I'm 67 years. And the things I'm doing now, I call them legacy decisions. I mean, let's just do the math. 13 years, I'll be 80. I'm not making decisions for me this way. I'm making it for my grandkids. I'm making it for your kids. I'm making it for your grandkids. So the decisions I'm making now are, yeah, of course they're going to affect me, but they're going to affect other people in town a lot longer than they're going to affect me. When I make a decision, I don't make it just so that it makes, how's it going to look in my front yard. That's a factor. Of course it is. It's a factor for all of us. When I make a decision, I like to think broader than that. I call it zooming out. Zooming out gives you a better perspective on reality. So for me, I want to be involved. If I'm not elected, I'm still going to be involved. I'm still going to say hi to you on my front porch. But the decision that I make is a decision for the future of your children and my children, for that matter. My son is 48 years old. He's not going to inherit my house. My granddaughter is. He's got his own house. So when I plant a tree in my yard, I think of my granddaughter and yours.
Thanks, Jessica.
So, as I kind of mentioned before, that I, as a resident, feel that it is my responsibility to be a voice for anybody who feels like they haven't had a strong voice. And for some of us, that's what we call the dirt roaders. We know there's a lot of different neighborhoods that have been and are being annexed. And we want to make sure that influence from HOAs is not too much on our St. Town. We're lucky we don't have an HOA. We have a lot of things that we can do on our own property, which is great. So I just want to be your voice for all of us that have lived here for a really long time, that do enjoy positive changes, but may feel like they're not being truly heard. I want to make sure that I respond to your emails in a timely manner. I don't mind meeting with anyone. Like I said, I would go door to door and make sure you are always informed on everything going on. And I think that it's also, as a member of town council, we do have to voice our opinions during town council meetings and also make sure that we are listening to each other in a respectful manner and make sure that there's nobody up here that's arguing over silly things, that sort of thing. So We need people who are willing to ask the tough questions, listen to residents, make sure everyone's being heard, make sure we're taken seriously. And I'm willing to do that. And, outside of all of that, I'm a big dog person. I'm an advocate for animals and for people, so that's why I want to be here.
Thank you. Frank?
Okay, I'm an engineer by training. And one of the things my training says is that a good decision process is 7 steps. So, anybody does engineering knows that. Probably most people that do town management know that. So it's a little different process. If you Google it, you'll come up with the 7-step process. Okay, so I think for a town like us, I think there's probably an 8-step census. Okay, so without building consensus, our decisions don't stick. We make some that didn't stick. So I'd like to see for the crucial decisions, I'd like to see us actually work through the 7-step process, or at least enough of those 7 steps that we make sure we get it right. So like, do we have the data and the public input that we need? Did we consider all the viable options and their potential impacts? Do we go back and review what we did so far? So I don't know how disciplined we are in applying those kind of steps to decisions. I don't think we, little decisions, I've seen it happen. I've seen big decisions happen in this room instantly. There was no time for a 7-step process or a 2-step process. The issue came up, the decision was made, whatever. So I see myself maybe as, a resource there to help make sure. I'm also, I have a different view on the committees. I'm a strong proponent of strengthening the committees and making better use of them. So, some of the, the history we've already talked about, what tree board is done, what long range planning is done.
You're at 2 minutes.
So, anyway, I think the committee, I think they are a good training. And I think they'll prepare you.
Thank you. And Tony?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I just wanted to say thank you again for coming out and getting to know us a little bit better. And I also wanted to thank the fellow candidates up here. As y'all go to the polling place right here in town hall on March 11th, I want you to think, who is going to represent you the best? I want you to think and of me in that thought, and think who will serve the interest of you, who will use their experience to promote the town, who's the best strategic thinker, who can provide that executive leadership. As you vote on March 11th for your 3 candidates for town council, I please ask that you vote for me. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mandy?
I also want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. I know you gave up 90 minutes of your evening on a Thursday, so I appreciate that. Coming and listening to us and getting to know us a little better. I, like Tony, would like to encourage you, as you go to the polls on March 11th, think about just with the service that we have given. I know that this is a volunteer position. We don't get paid. We do this because we love the town and we want to serve the residents and we want to benefit the residents in the town to hear what you have to say and make sure we're following your wishes. And I hope that you see that, in the 4 years I've been here, I've tried to serve with integrity. I've tried to listen to everything that you've said. I love your emails. I try to respond to every single one of them. If I didn't, I apologize. But I love to listen. So I hope that you remember that when you go to the polls, that you want somebody to represent you who's going to listen and try to vote with integrity for your wishes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mandy. Well, with that, we've reached the end of our 2025 Town Council Candidate Forum. Once again, thank you to all of the candidates for participating tonight. And for those of you that have been serving, for serving as an elected official, which is a lot of work and running for office isn't easy either. Thank you for your willingness to dedicate your time and your talent to public service. Likewise, thank you to everyone in attendance who's taken the time to be here for this forum and for your participation. Have a wonderful evening, and remember, Election Day is Tuesday, March 11th. Have a good night.